our Tuesday, September 26, 2023 meeting of the Farmington Public Schools Board of Education. We have a roll call, please, Mr. Lynch.
Yes. Mr. Walker.
Here.
Ms. Fox.
Here.
Ms. Weems.
Present.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
I myself am here. Dr. Blau.
I here.
You have the quorum.
Thank you. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Yes, Mr. Rich.
I move that we approve today's agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Rich, supported by Mr. Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Well, for those of you who last weekend and this weekend celebrated the Jewish High Holy Days, Shana Tova, I hope you had a busy fast. I would like to remind our public, both here and virtual, that we thank you for your interest in attending or viewing our FPS Board of Education meetings. The Open Meetings Act requires that we hold all of our meetings in public. As a result, our board meetings are the only place and time where we as a full board can legally work together on district matters. While these board meetings are held in public for the purpose of full transparency, they are not public meetings. While you are welcome to attend our meetings in person or watch them from elsewhere, we must take the time needed to address, discuss, and hear presentations on all matters of importance to our work for the district. Thank you very much for understanding that and being patient with us as we conduct our board business. We also have a series of board agreements that we have agreed to abide by both here and outside of the board table. They are as follows: listen actively in their sidebars, respect people and ideas, presume positive intent, use electronic devices respectfully and stay engaged, listen to learn, not to defend, be brave and be vulnerable. And we recommitted to these for this year and class. That is all I have for today. So moving on to items from the Secretary, Mr. Rich.
Thank you. The board has received communications regarding the board agenda and a family engagement edutainer for a Head Start and the child care programs. The board acknowledges communications and responds when appropriate. A list of correspondence can be found in the board packet accessible on the Farmington Public Schools website.
Thank you. Next, we have our legislative update.
Alrighty, so a few things to look at right now. First is legislation to codify free meals for all students was introduced. So the Senate Education Committee began hearings on Senate Bill 500, which was introduced 2 weeks ago now. This bill would require the Michigan Department of Education to operate the program to provide free breakfast and lunch to all students in public schools. This does follow the school aid budget inclusion of these programs for this year, which was an appropriation of $160 million. And so putting this program into the school code will help ensure that it is funded each year by the legislature. So instead of just being a line budget item that changes every year, and has to get through the budget process every year, it just becomes enshrined in the law. So that is a very great step in making this something that we will be able to see continued for many years to come into the future. A few other things, the Senate committee approved the return to work rule changes for retirees. So the Senate Education Committee also approved House Bill 4752, which amends the Public School Employees Retirement Act, which currently has the requirement that a retiree must wait 9 months after retirement before being able to substitute in a district without penalty to the pension. Under the bill, a retiree would only have to wait 6 months before returning without penalty. However, a retiree would be allowed to work in those 6 months as long as they do not make more than $15,100 per calendar year. It also states that a retiree could not serve as a superintendent for the first 6 months after retirement. These provisions will sunset in 5 years. It now goes before the full Senate for consideration and approval. The last one I wanted to just talk about briefly is with regard to the House Education Committee, her testimony from Rep. Brenda Carter from Pontiac and Auburn Hills in support of House Bills 4241 and 4242, which would require each school building to have a panic alarm system in place and create an appropriation to fund them. Not all schools have the kind of plan that we do. I know that last meeting we had a full presentation on school safety. We were able to hear from members of not only Farmington Public Schools, but also from our police departments as to what we do to keep our children safe, as well as our staff. And so this is something that we will be seeing across the state. Kind of an alarm to alert administrators, teachers, staff, and first responders of building-wide emergencies, including lockdowns. And so this is one of those things that we have to recognize that we in Farmington Public Schools are a standard for across the state, and it's not something that everyone else has. So I just wanted to bring that up as a point of pride for this district of where we are ahead of the game here, and others are looking to kind of emulate that and how it might be made into state law to follow in these kinds of footsteps. So those are the reports that I made.
Thank you very much. Next, we have our district updates. Dr. Delgado.
Thank you, Dr. Blau. Good evening to the board and to the public. Welcome to fall in Michigan. This past Saturday was the first official day of fall, and so I know our students and staff are very excited. They really kind of hit a groove in the school year as they're back to the business of teaching and learning. Everyone's excited about kind of the homecoming events. We have parades, we have dances, we have the football games, pep rallies, we have ice cream socials at the elementary schools, and then of course things like hay rides at Heritage Park and the event planning, as well as our first fall musical concerts that we all look so very much forward to enjoying. So it's really a celebration of our school community, and if you, whether you grew up here or you're a transplant here in Michigan, there's nothing like fall in Michigan. So good morale in the buildings and good energy from our students. Also want to welcome, or say a very happy Hispanic Heritage Month to everyone in our community. Hispanic Heritage Month, as you may know, is September 15th through October 15th. People often wonder why it's in the middle of the month. Many of the Latin American countries gained independence from Spain in the middle of September, and that's why it started in that area. But we want to thank all of our community members, our students, our parents, our grandparents for their contributions to our wonderful country and the contributions of Latino Americans to our wonderful country. Speaking of one wonderful young student, I was approached in the middle of the summer by a current senior who's in the ICR International Baccalaureate folks out here, a young lady, Isabel Torres, who is a senior in the IB program at Farmington High School. She asked if she could meet with me to talk about partnering on a research project she has for her IB diploma program. And so she is actually going to study I might need my readers here, the social media as a threat to minorities on the basis of upholding negative stereotypes and attitudes. So something we were all doing at 17, right? But an incredible young woman who really is passionate about this and wants to not only look at Latino Americans, but expand it to social media stereotypes, kind of perpetuating these negative stereotypes and the impact that that has on young people in our community. So I promised her that I would invite her back to a Board of Education meeting later in the year so she could present her findings. She's very excited to do so. But just another example of just how our students are thriving here in Farmington Public Schools. I was really humbled that she asked to talk to me, as a Latino educator, to partner with her on this wonderful research. So shout out to Isabel. Also, very excited this Saturday, FAPN, our African American Parent Network, kicks off the Super Saturday Tutoring Program with a pancake kickoff. I will be there flipping pancakes and maybe tutoring. as well. So really, really excited. Mr. Hall and the rest of us are excited about another opportunity of wonderful tutoring. So I would extend that invitation on behalf of Mr. Hall and Chapman for anyone who would like to volunteer their time to help tutor our young people, as well as families who are looking for a Saturday opportunity. 9 to 11 at Farmington High School. We welcome everyone. And then last but not least, last week I had the great opportunity to attend the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators annual fall conference in Traverse City. Excellent, excellent sessions, including a keynote by Dr. John W. Hodges, who talks, he has many keynote speeches, but it talks really about the impact of teachers on young individuals' lives, especially young minority children. And he gives the story about he and his fellow friends who grew up in a neighborhood and how each of them took different paths in their lives, and they attribute many of their successes back to a teacher. And so really, really powerful. I've seen Dr. Hodges speak a few times, and so it was nice to see him. I also attended a session on K-3 literacy, improving K-3 literacy, and was very, very appreciative that it validated many of the things that we're doing here at Farmington Public Schools. I was texting with Dr. Coffin, who was up there as well, and then Mrs. Hendrickson, and I have papers to bring back, and are we doing this? And here's a rubric we're doing, and so very validating. We're very encouraged by our K-2 foundational skills that we're rolling out, as well as all of our literacy efforts, and thank you to all of our dedicated teachers for those efforts. We spent a lot of time speaking about legislative updates, as Mr. Rich alluded to, lots of conversation about para and the changes, and so that was a bulk of the workshop. And then I also had the opportunity to present on Thursday afternoon with Oakland University on the topic of civility in our schools and in our community, and they used Farmington Public Schools as an example of our board's outreach in the community dialogues that we're doing. And so it was within the Oakland University Civility Project, and Dr. Suzanne Klein and I, with help from Dr. Julio and then videos from Mr. Walker and Dr. Blau, really helped tell the story of Farmington. And I was so proud to speak about this board and their work of committing to each other and then committing to the community in these community dialogues. And that's a perfect segue to invite you to, and I don't want to steal people's fire, but I guess I'm doing it. But next Tuesday, we have our first community dialogue. Right here, 6:30 to 8:30, we would welcome all of the community to come. The topic is budget priorities, and even though we do publish a budget, and we know that well over 80% of our budget goes to staffing, we are interested in kind of within the small discretionary funds we have, what are your thoughts as a community? And we would like people to come and engage in a civil conversation about where those priorities should land. And so this is an opportunity for our board members to engage more naturally with our public, which was the intent of the committee, that you really can't have that engagement during public comment. So a very fruitful week and a very exciting week in education in Farmington Public Schools. That's it for me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Miller. Next, we have reports from board committees, the policy committee.
Thank you, Dr. Blau.
Mr. Walker. I'm sorry. I'm just practicing.
That's all right. I'll receive that. Thank you. So the policy committee met just this past week. Myself, members Terry Weems and Nicole Fox, along with Dr. Delgado as well. And during the meeting, we and the members we thoroughly scrutinized policy updates presented by Noah Johnson, the district's policy service provider. We compared each update with our current policy manual and discussed the recommended changes. The changes will be presented for first reading at an upcoming board. So it's a real spirited discussion, a lot of changes, but just doing the good things that we need to go to the right places, practicing the privileges.
Thank you. Next, we have discussion items, and for this evening, we have a review of the new textbook adoption recommendation for IBDP biology, chemistry, and physics.
I see Mrs. Henderson and team are coming up to the podium. Tell us all about
I
it.
just got to bring back up. Good evening, Board of Education. I'm excited to launch my first time in front of the board here for this school year, and look forward to additional opportunities to speak with you. As part of one of the things that we bring to the Board of Education are new textbook adoptions, and there will be a few that will come throughout the year. As we start have our IBDP program, biology, chemistry, and physics, which I have colleagues here to help share with you the reason for a new textbook to support that programming as students move along in their IB programming and keep up to date with changes in the IB program so that they have what they need to be successful on the IB assessment. They will share a little bit about the need as well as why this textbook that you'll see before you. Make sure you introduce yourself.
Good evening, board members. My name is Hannah Henderson. I'm the IBDP physics instructor at Farmington High School. And
my name is Grace Smith. I'm the IBDP biology teacher.
And I'm Kevin Biesner. I'm the IBDP HL chemistry teacher and the diploma program and career-related program coordinator.
he's fairly busy. We are glad to be here tonight to discuss our new textbook essentially, but it's more than that. It really is a virtual, very state-of-the-art, up-to-date resource for our students. We learned about it at a international training that we attended in March, so we've heard it from the mouths of those that are experiencing it and loving it from all over the world, really. And so the program itself is a textbook as well as up-to-date questions, vocabulary, all about the new curriculum that is beginning this year with our current juniors. And so the need for an updated textbook is very crucial, and this is what we found to be a wonderful resource.
And as we all know, the IB has a very interesting approach to teaching and learning. It's a very inquiry-based approach, and so what you'll see here is kind of the skills that students develop as part of IB. So you'll notice there's not specific physics, chemistry, or health science standards. It's the general thinking that we want students to do. And so this textbook is a resource to support content, but it isn't the driver of how instruction is designed. It's a resource for that information. So we can reinforce the why and then
Wonderful. So we just this year have transitioned our IB curriculum, and so it is now considered the IB class of 2025 is the first test that will be done with this new curriculum. That'll be this year's juniors next year taking this test. So it's a very quick turnaround from the curriculum changing to a new structure of test and an overall curriculum. And so this textbook is, for example, I've been using 3 textbooks in physics. I tell students that it's such a hard topic, we need 4 teachers, not just me. And so instead, this really is a very nice accumulation of all the changes, as well as the IB-specific vernacular, for lack of a better word, the nature of science, international mindedness, while also having the technological advancement of having videos linked into the textbook, of having question solutions pop up, of providing us wonderful data of student responses and their progress, all while tacking on accessibility and just very much so with the times in terms of technology.
So she shared a little bit about some of those pieces and parts that they have found in this digital program. You will find that this is a digital-only platform. He was very eloquent to say to me that even all the books we have hard copy, the IB students do not take out. They don't take home. They rely on the digital access. So this program is digital access only, and some of the proposal items that you see here on the right, which were highlights from the text, are things that she shared with you.
While it is digital, you can print PDFs. Kids can click and it'll read it to them. They can change the background of it, so it's accessible in lots of different ways, not just digital.
Add about the text that you guys want to share.
Probably my favorite part is that it does have built-in formative assessments at the end of every single section that the students have to do to show that it's completed the section. And so if we assign them a homework assignment, we can tell that they've read it. Well, hopefully read it. I have questions wrong, but they've at least done it. So where before when I would
there, with the old curriculum, you know, we've been teaching for 6 or 7 years, we have a plethora of old exam questions to work off of. Because a big part of this is test preparation and what are strategies that you need to use to take the test now, and then also, you know, for exams in college. And we don't have any of that for the new curriculum, except that they have created a database of lots of exam questions that we can use. So as the teacher trying to teach them, you know, from day one over this 2 years, like how can you be successful on the test? And that is already a big resource for me and for them. Because even though it's like still biology, it's different enough from the old stuff that a lot of the old questions just aren't applicable. So that having that from them is a really big resource.
So generally, we would have a copy of the text for you to pass around to see, but because it's digital, we do not have that. The publisher has lined up an online access for the Board of Ed to look at between now and the time that we take action on this in October. So we will be following up and sending you those credentials so you can explore the resource yourself. If a community member, we usually have a hard copy available within central office for someone to view. If a community member wanted to review this particular text, they would reach out to Kevin Meisner at his house at high school to come in and do a preview, because we cannot share those credentials publicly with the community due to copyright. And if they're approving access for us, we cannot purchase the materials. Any questions that you might have?
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. I completely understand that this is actually required. We need to get new curriculum that is part of the IB program, and it changes every 7 years. I appreciate that, you know, the genetics learning of today is likely vastly different than it was 10 years ago, so I fully support that. Just had a few questions. One, is this a different vendor than what we've used in the past, and how familiar are you guys with this vendor in particular, and why choose this one?
It's a brand new vendor to us. They've been around for a couple of years. They've changed. They weren't quite a textbook before. They were an online resource that has kind of morphed into a textbook. They are the only, so IB only works with a small number of vendors. I think it's 4 for textbooks, and they're the only one that's an all-digital vendor. The others are sort of traditional textbooks with PDFs, and this is not a PDF. This is interactive.
So assuming that everyone's kind of reviewed all 4 of the vendors, and you settled on this one as the one that you prefer because of what it currently offers.
And when we go to the trainings, like the training we went to last year for the new curriculum, that's part of what you can do with the trainings, is you can go through all the texts and meet with the vendors they have on their tables.
And if this were adopted or approved in October, when would you start teaching this curriculum? Would it start this fall, or would it start in next year? So I'm just trying to get a sense where students right now learning will be tested on a curriculum that currently exists, and the next, so these seniors will be taking the test in 24 off of the old curriculum.
Yes, these seniors are this spring of the old curriculum. This year's juniors would be the following year with the new curriculum. We don't have a choice of whether we, like, the curriculum is independent of the textbook. So they will be testing on the curriculum whether we get this textbook or not.
We can start using the textbook now.
If they've given us like a preview time to work through the textbook with our students and see how it works.
So the minute we adopt this, we will be using this in the classroom with our current students.
And we don't have to wait for it to ship.
Is there any training that is required of the staff, and is that embedded in the cost to you?
It's not required. They have both digital and webinar training, but they will also Zoom with us for training. They have a relative, like a Midwest rep, but the company is actually overseas. So unless you want to send us to training over there.
I don't mind that at all.
As long as you go with, right?
Yeah, right, where is it?
Scandinavians.
Of course. I noticed that there were a limited number of, I guess these are licenses, like, that seems like a relatively low number compared to what I thought were the number of students that were in IB.
So that's only the juniors that are taking science classes in particular.
Do we need to grow that, or can we grow that later, I guess, if we...
Oh, yes, each year, we would get an invoice for the number of kids.
Gotcha, okay. And so this is an annual cost? Gotcha, okay. I think that answers all of my questions. Yep, thank you.
Ms. Fox?
Yes, I'm looking at a couple of items that is shown here. One of them is the various built-in tools for accommodating individual student needs, printable, audio reader, student controller, font size. That's wonderful. That is just wonderful for all of the kids who have all different kinds of issues and what have you. So I'm very pleased to see that. Very pleased.
Yeah, we have quite a few students in the IB program who have various, like speaking or listening or reading needs, so it works perfect for those students.
Thank you.
It's also very clear, it has interactives, videos, there's a lot of different modes of learning within it as well. We love that as well.
Mr. Wallace?
My question was around accessibility as well, so thank you.
Anyone else? I have one question. So is it a 2-year science program? So it's either junior and senior year limited?
All IB classes in this district are taught.
And then in the answer to the question about you had looked at all 4, we all went to separate trainings and we get trained by discipline. And we all came back from our separate trainings having heard from other people, like, why don't you have this program? And we were all like, are you using this? No. So there seems to be not just in one science, but across the board people thought this was really beneficial.
Sounds really exciting.
So we thank you for spending time with us this evening, and we will let you get on with your rest of your board meeting.
Thank you so much. Okay. We are already ready for public comment. All right, as we move into public comment, I would like to remind everyone that during this portion of our meeting, members of the community have an opportunity to address the board. Each community member will have up to 3 minutes to speak. A timer on the screen will display the 3-minute countdown for each speaker during the public comment. Thank you in advance for honoring this item. We wish to remind our community that this is a meeting of the board, public in public, to provide transparency, not a public meeting. As a result, we will respectfully listen to your comments, but we will not respond or engage in dialogue with you in this setting. However, please be assured that we are listening closely to every comment, and that a member of the Board of Education and/or our superintendent, Dr. Delegate, would be happy to speak with you after tonight's meeting to set up a time to engage in dialogue together and further address your concerns. If you wish to make public comment, there are cards on the table by the door. Please fill them out and bring it to Mrs. Stern's ceramic dish. All right, first we have Mr. Bill Holloway.
Good evening. I'm here to speak about a different take on things. First thing I wanted to point out is I'm not sure this board recognized that the board does not own the school district and they don't run it for the purposes of the board. They run it for the parents and the students, and I don't see a lot of that. A large part of that is because of the closed discussions of the board. There really is not a lot of communication. So I printed this for you to see what they have talking about. And I've flattened my lips a lot of times on the different statistics that come out on the school district. We didn't do well this past year, and I don't see any sign we're going to do better than that. So I wanted to take a different cut at it and give the board statistics, discuss them, here, and we never get into a real dialogue on what the statistics mean, nor do we hear what is being done to correct the problems that we have. So what I did was I dug out the superintendent evaluation from last January and said, well, I'm going to redo it and change what I think the school district board has earned for itself. And you can see the numbers in red, which says that the board has received a minimally effective rating. Obviously, you would disagree with me, but you're never going to discuss it with me, so I don't think we're here. And then the other thing I wanted to point out was, as we pop things out, they're not in the minutes. And so, for example, board goals were popped up last time, not distributed ahead of time with the minutes, so we couldn't tell what they were. We subsequently received copies of what the minutes were. They were described as what was in the minutes. The goals were described as SMART goals. And then I looked at what SMART goals are, which is again from the superintendent's evaluation forms that you use. And there is not a snowball's chance in heck that those goals promulgated by the board are SMART goals. There's no hard and fast statistics, no goals that we can quantify and measure, and it's basically a wish list. So I think that this board is not doing the kind of job that we expect as a community. And as I look at things, I look at the Wall Street Journal.
Thank you. We'll take a look through the journals. Next, we have Mr. Eugene Easement.
Good evening. As we hear in all the starts of these meetings, this is the meeting of the board held in public. We as taxpayers would like to hear a vigorous discussion of what is the most concern to taxpayers and parents, and that's school performance. We don't hear that discussion, right? The SAT results just came out. We didn't look very good. They seem to tie with the M-STEP results. So clearly it's not a testing problem, as we had some unofficial conversation about. We have a learning problem, or a teaching problem, or who knows what problem, but if we don't get to the root cause, we aren't going to fix it. And if we don't admit we have a problem, we're not going to fix it. We certainly appreciate the fact that phonics is being used in K through 3, or K through 2 actually. And we would like to see what's going to be done through 3 through 12. And the SAT results are basically grade 11, which says, hey, guess what? 40% of the kids aren't at reading level. So that's a crime against humanity. I think that kids graduate and can't read. We heard last year that we didn't have enough tutors, and the best known method to fix reading is high efficiency tutoring, whatever Dr. Delegate pointed out last year. But how are we going to do that? Do we have a budget line item for tutors? No. How many tutors do we need? We never discuss it in this meeting. It's been brought up, but this is the meeting of the board with the public. So if you don't discuss it in a meeting that we're here, where do you discuss it? And as Mr. Loveway pointed out, the board's goals aren't smart. They're basically, we're going to monitor what happens in the school, but we're not going to set a goal which taxpayers like me and across Farmington Hills, what are our expectations? Like maybe in 3 years we should be back in the top 10 of the schools in Michigan. So we need SMART goals. Say we, through you, the board, set the goals. Dr. Delgado figures out how to achieve those goals or understand where the problems are that may limit his ability to achieve it in a reasonable amount of time, but there's a plan so that we actually accomplish it down the road. Right now, we don't have a goal, and for sure they're not smart. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Any further public comment? Seeing no additional public comment is now closed. All right, next we have action items. The first is the approval of the city of Farmington's right-of-way easement deed requirements for Visions Unlimited. Yes.
Thank you. This item was presented in detail at the September 12th, 2023 Board of Education regular meeting for everyone's recollection. I move that the Board of Education approve the city of Farmington Hills right-of-way and easement deed requirements for Visions Unlimited located at 30415 Shiawassee Avenue.
Motion by Ms. Williams, supported by Mr. Walker. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Do we need to do a roll call vote for this?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Rich.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Fox,
Yes.
Ms. Weems,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
I myself, yes. Dr. Blau,
Yes.
motion passes.
Wonderful. Second, we have the assembly designates for the 2023 assembly. Yes, Mr. Walker.
I move that the Board of Education certify Terry Williams to serve as delegate and Cheryl Blau as alternate at the November 9th, 2023 MASB Delegate Assembly.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Walker, supported by Mr. Rich. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Items from the treasurer. Ms. Williams.
I move that the Board of Education approve the expenditures as outlined in the expenditure printout dated September 26, 2023 as follows. From the general fund, $15,013,167. From the athletics fund, $81,445. From the capital projects 2018 bond fund, $134,500. From the 2020 bond fund, $1,932,813. And from the Nutrition Services Fund, $473,349, and from the Benefit Stabilization Fund, $2,152,097, for a total of $19,787,371.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Weems, supported by Mr. Rich. Please have a roll call.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Fox,
Yes.
Ms. Weems,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
I myself, yes. Dr. Blau,
Yes.
motion passes.
Yes. Motion for the consent agenda. Approval of consent agenda, Mr. Walker.
I move that the Board of Education approve the September 26, 2023 consent agenda as follows. Item A, approval of minutes for September 12, 2023 regular meeting. Item B, personnel items.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Walker, supported by Mr. Rich. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Do we have any reports from board representatives this evening? Seeing none, we will move on. And that is all of our business for this evening. Our meeting is